Carter is there at 6, but Eagles offer you 10 and 30. Would you do it? Word is their dream is to reunite Davis and Carter. I would do that. I absolutely would jump on that right there. You would have 3 first-round picks. You would have 10, 18, and 30. I would jump on that in a heartbeat. Happy Dan, if Brad Holmes did that, I'm going to call him the GOAT. That would be amazing because I think you can still get the same person at 10 that you could at 6, and you're picking up another first-round pick. Oh, my God, I would love that one. What do you think about that, Ant-Man, trading back and getting another first-rounder?
I'd say no, purely because we have gotten to the position we have by not trading down picks, but taking damn good players. We stayed and took Penny. We probably could have traded that Penny pick for a haul, but we didn't. We could have traded the Aiden pick for a haul, but we didn't. We get our good players. For me, Jalen Carter's worth more. If there's no issues with him and the Lions brass decide he is the player, he is one of the best players, if not the best player in this draft. I am going to take him, even for want of another first-round pick, because that's how we're getting so good. We're taking blue-chip prospects, not passing up for extra picks.
And see, that's where the fan base is split. You have the people that would take him. Look, I like Jalen Carter. I do have questions. Could it be Nick Fairley 2.0 because of the workout? But I'm going to let Brad Holmes decide that. He's going to be close in there. But if you think like he's not the guy, I would do it. If you think, look, Brad Holmes thinks this guy is going to be the greatest pick, I guess for sure. But I'm all about trade. I do like trading back. I definitely like trading back. But not just for anybody. I mean, that's just my thoughts. That's different. Lions fan, go ahead.
If he's going to be Nick Fairley, I know he's kind of rag on him a bit, but since he left, there is no one we've had at the defensive tackle position since then that I would have preferred over him. So I would take a Nick Fairley right now, if I'm being completely honest.
Man, I want to take Nick Fairley after what happened with him. Justin Chase, Big Arms Chase. See, he's more like the my side there. We're all a little bit different here. This fan base is split 50-50. But picking up an extra first would be nice. 31st, man. Then you have 2 seconds. Oh, my God. You could probably take, if you want to even go even closer up in the draft, you're like, know what? We're going to pick 10 and we're going to take 18 and we're going to take a second round pick. We're going to move up to 14. Like you could have so many situations there. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. If Carter is their guy, no deal. But if we bring in Campbell to mentor him, would be a great situation for defensive line. Yeah, that's for sure. If that's what they're thinking, for sure. Don't really know now. You know, this is a lot of silent, but if that's their thought process, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I do trust Brad Holmes in his evaluation of talent. I will take his word and his selections over mine because he's close to the players. He's been right. He knows what he's doing. He's been great in the draft. I trust his draft process and how he selects. So even if it happens to Ant-Man that they get players I personally didn't like, I full on trust that Brad Holmes knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. At this point, I like doing my draft analysis because I have my favorite players. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's the expert and knows actually what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So, as soon as they are drafted, they're a Detroit Lion, they're my player, I'm going to support them. So they could take like the worst. They could take the 8 players I hate the most in this draft of the positions, and I wouldn't care because I trust them. So
Steve Fairley wasn't as bad as Mike is making out to be. He just wasn't a player they expected him to be. Well, he was injured quite a bit, had issues with eating. Then we find that medical issue when he went to the New Orleans Saints. So I would have went a different route, but it is what it is. That's a hindsight 2020. There. Nobody's talking about Tuli Tuipulotu 2. I can never say that guy's name.
Tuipulotu.
From USC. Kid is a dog. Talk about Tuli, Ant-Man.
Yeah, he's one of the players who's kind of got lost in this draft. I mean, again, I sort of have my own personal favorites at edge. He's not there, but he is a very good player. But he's probably going to go on day 2, something like that. He's not really one I've looked at as most as some of the other guys out there, so I can't really add a lot more. But he's had a really damn good year, I know that much. He's been like the only good defender USC have had. So, hey.
anyone with the biggest long name that's hard to say that's who the Lions draft. That's just the way it is. Levi Onwuzurike, I remember we got that one. Amani Owarie, we get that one. It's like, oh my God, man. If you're going for the hard names, that is Brad Holmes. That and some players that have a high ceiling. Alex Haggerty, #Lions. What's more likely? We trade back in the first from 18 to late first, or trade out of third to get the 4th round picks? What do you think is more likely? Trade back into the first from 18. Well, 18 is the first. Are you talking about going? Are you talking about 6, 18, and then coming?
No, he's talking about going from 18 to like 24 or something and picking up more picks.
Oh, okay.
Like, is it trading pick 18, or do you trade the 3rd round pick? I mean, what's Brad Holmes got? What's his history of trading apart from up? I mean, usually he trades down later in the draft to acquire picks.
Trade up early. So, that's what he does.
I mean, yeah, I would, in that scenario, I would envision that he would. I think we'd more likely trade pick 81 back for some mid-round picks than any of the others. I think they go quite heavy early on and pick mostly where they're going to pick. I think 81, 81's more likely to get traded than 18, in my opinion.
Yeah, you get like another 4th round pick. I could see that because we don't got one right now, so that's possible. But they do trade up early for sure. They tried to trade up for Penei Sewell, almost did it. I mean, that's just what they did, and they almost picked Levi in the 1st round when you heard about, and Joshua Pascal. So, yeah, I think going though from 3 and picking up picking a 4th round pick would be logical for sure. #Mike, do you think JMO has over 1,000 yards this season? Ooh, great question. I'm going to say no, just because there's a ton of talent on this offense. It's going to be difficult. What is your thoughts on that one, man?
If we're talking all-purpose yards, then yes, because I think they will use him a lot out the backfield, jet sweeps, all that sort of stuff. So I agree with you. There are a lot of mouths to feed in this offense, but he can get yards more than just being a receiver. So I think he will. I mean, it took Amon-Ra half a year to get good, and JMO's had, half a year to get good. So you should start. I think he'll start pretty quickly because teams still don't really know how to deal with him because they haven't seen that much. He's got to be fully healthy, ready to go. I think he's going to take people by storm at the start of this season before maybe tailing off a little bit as they figure it out. But I think he will get 1,000 yards all told.
Can Holmes find 2 starters in the 1st round? What positions? I think for sure he can get one defensive tackle, whether they go at 6 or 18. I think that would be a starter. I don't know about another starter. I think you'd get playing time, but straight starter, it's going to be difficult because we're very talented all over this team. I mean, if they wanted to go a wide receiver or a running back, playing time or a guard, I think it's possible. If they found a defensive back that plays really well, it's going to be difficult because there's so much talent on this football team right now. But DT for sure would be a starter. And don't even talk about tight end. I'm not even going there. And, man, what's your thoughts? Can you find 2 starters in round 1? Do you think they do?
I mean, I don't think they need to.
Yeah.
I know that sounds a silly thing, but, I mean, this is the year they said that's better than any. If you want a quarterback, you can just pick him and stash him and let him develop. I mean, that's a case there. If there's an offensive lineman they really like, I keep saying this, we're in a bit of an awkward position with the offensive line because in the next 2 years, they're all going to be getting paid heavy amounts of money. At some point, you've got to start investing in it again. And maybe you take a guy, I know first you would probably want him to start, but you also want some elite talent to replace some of the guys you're going to need to when all these contracts come up. So, I mean, he could find 2 starters, absolutely. But I don't know if they will, because I think there will be one eye on the future as well. And as I say, there are positions, quarterback, offensive line, where you can get great players and you not have to start them right away. And wouldn't be wrong. You've always got to think about your future.
David says any player drafted around 1, most teams would be projected of starters. Okay, I concur. But this is a situation where we got a ton of starters right now. So if you look at the offensive line, okay, that's pretty much set. Maybe they could go like an Osiris Torrance, but the offensive line is set. The quarterback is set. The wide receivers, generally it's just 2. So if you were to draft a wide receiver, say at 18, he's not going to be ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams right off rip. He would be a guy that's somewhat of a player. Tight end, we're not drafting a tight end, I don't believe at all, in the first round at all. So you go to the defensive line. Defensive tackle for sure would be a starter. But if you go edge, is he going to be a for sure starter right off there? You got Aiden Hutchinson, you got Romeo, you got Charles Harris, you got Joshua Pascal. There's a ton of bodies there. He may be in a rotation, but a straight starter, difficult. They're not going to take a linebacker. Well, I guess you could take a linebacker right at 18 and be a starter, but they're generally they do 2 linebackers at one time. And right now you have everyone's favorite Alex Anzalone, and got Malcolm Rodriguez in there. So they could get a linebacker in theory at pick 18. I don't think they do it because that's Brad Holmes. You go with the defensive backs. Who's going to start immediately? Because you got Emmanuel Mosley, Jerry Jacobs, you got Gardner Johnson, you got Sutton, and you got Okuda. So if you're to draft a defensive back, where is he going to be? And for safety, you got Tracy Walker and Kirby Joseph. So it's really difficult to find a guy that's a starter all the time. It really is, unless you go running back like a Bijan Robinson, who would probably get majority of the carries, but there is not that many besides defensive tackle.
Exactly. And like you've said, cornerback, linebacker, safety, there's not a lot of young talent on those teams. I mean, at linebacker, you've got Rodrigo, who's like the outstanding talent. Barnes, we don't know with yet. And then after that, it's just glorified special teamers. At corner, I mean, I'm going to call Jeff a young talent. Now, I know I still fully back him, and I believe it's his year, but you've got no talent coming through the pipeline. At safety, you've got Kirby. Tracy's a fully fledged vet now, and, then you've just got Kirby. So you've got to keep on replenishing your young talent. And, if it means, even if it's a first, if they're a very talented player, they're not going to start right away, but in a year they're going to be a big part of your team, then absolutely, that's what you do. You've got to keep building sustainably for the future. It's not all about just finding starter after starter after starter after starter all the time. It's about finding the most talented player, and, it will take time for him to develop. Every player takes a different amount of time to develop. So as long as they're good in the long run, that's fine. I mean, look at Bob Quinn's drafts. I mean, 2017, we thought, Tracy Walker's in there, Deshaun Hand's in there. All these guys are so talented year one, and then just fell off a cliff. They ended up in no good. First they might look good. They're all starting. They're all playing well, but things don't always work out that way. Yeah, exactly. Things don't work out that way. So I just want them, between the 5 picks in the top 81, to draft 5 very talented players.
Yeah,
that's where they're at, whether they are starter, development, whatever. 5 very talented players. The amount of young talent we have on this team and the direction we're going, that's great for this franchise going forward. So just pick me some really good players, regardless of whether they're a starter now or in 12 months. I don't care.
Steve says, #lines, I'm not sold they wouldn't consider tight end 18. They filled so many holes, I wouldn't count it out. I'm counting it out. I think I'll lose my mind if we take a tight end this early, considering the fact that our tight end room is good with what we have. I will be live on Lions Nation Unite. We'll have Herman Moore and everybody, and I will do this. We draft a tight end at 18. I will lose it because there's so many other positions I think you can get.
Perfect.